All right, welcome back to the day 3 for the Excel quiz. So before I continue, a quick message. What happened was that when I was working on the recording of day 2, I accidentally hit the freeze my screen button after 20 minutes. And unfortunately, all that I did after the first 20 minutes didn't get the video. It has the audio, but no video. So what I'm going to do is I will repeat that session so that you get a good idea. But at the same time, I left day 2 at using the basic formulas, sum, count, average. I think we just finished average and we didn't come to the count yet. So I'm going to delete some of this stuff and start over from there. So that I have this available for us. I'm going to Alt project 3. Okay, there you go. So I have project 2, which I built and like now. So what we're going to do is we will look at the how to creating the average. A formula which basically says what is the sum of the numbers in the range and the average, right? And if I choose to select the range, I can also see that being displayed on the bottom toolbar out here. Okay, so it says average is 3. Now, why does it say average is 3? Because I am basically looking at a number from a non-decimal standpoint. But to put that in a sheet, I will use a formula called equals a average. Okay, as soon as I write average, I can give a range to it. Now I know there's a long maths reference to what it is, but let us not get very technical about it. Okay, the reason I say that is because we are building the basic foundation level concept. We get a foundation laid about what is where and what can we do with an Excel, what are the different features and the power of it. It is easy for you to apply it further. Okay, now what I'll do is I will select the range of cells. Now the range of cells is, we know, again I could select it all the way D2 to D16, or I could also physically type it in. Either one. Now under the formula I'll hit an enter. Okay, so at this time, if I had my decimals at 0, it would have rounded it off to the closest whole number and it would have shown me 3. But if I do at least 1 or 2 decimals, it will show me. We said the total guess invite at 38 because this is sum. Average guess invite is 2.53. Let us also put one more and say how many invites do we have. In the sense, let's count the number of invitations that we have sent. Okay, so I'm going to say that I have sent. Okay, so here it is. Total invites sent. In fact, I will look at this sheet and the other sheet that we created and see the difference at the end of this Excel. Okay. This is the count equals count, and that is the formula. So now I can say D2 to D16. When I copy and paste, right, what I get is basically the formula copied and the cells moved accordingly. So if I've gone from one row from 17 to 18, then it will automatically paste that accordingly. So for example, if I copy this count D2 to D16 as is in the cell, I put it here, what should come? It should come up as count D, because the same column 3 to D17. Let's see. There you go. If I paste it here, what should it come? Now I've moved the column also. It should come as count E. E3, because I've also moved down through E17. Let's see. Is it E3, D17? See, that's how formulas can be put. Okay. Now, very important for you to get the base for these formulas. The other exercise that I wanted to do is more like a repeat and a practice that will help you really fine-tune the concepts on Microsoft Excel. Now, I have 2 sheets here. I don't have a third sheet because I right-clicked on it and I did a delete of the sheet. So what I can do is I can click this new sheet. I can also drag the sheet to where I want and order it. More importantly, I will right-click on it and do a rename. And this is basically a currency calculator, okay, table. What do I mean by currency calculator table? I am saying that, hey, let's say that we have a need where we are often looking at a currency exchange between 2 different currencies. And we want to be able to refer to something very quickly on that. Now, the way I will do it is, let's say that there is a date field, and on a given date, there is a currency conversion ratio. So please excuse my spell errors in case there are any. I'll say what is the currency first currency. Let's say it is GB, okay, which is the pounds, the UK pounds, and let's say the currency 2 is USD. All right. Now I have I have how many rows? 4 rows. I'm going to zoom in so that I can see a bigger picture of what we're doing. And now what I will do is, let me increase this that way I can see. See everything, these things that I'm saying, please keep a note of it. The reason I'm saying keep a note of it is because once you start practicing, these are important things that, hey, you can change these cells. If I select 2 columns at the same time and change the width of it, both columns will get adjusted to the same size. So all these simple points is important from a future standpoint. Okay. Now, here what I'm going to do is I can put a date. For example, I say today is the 15th Jan, right? So as soon as I write 1/15, the Excel recognizes this to be a date and gives it a date format. You could change the date format and pick something more appropriate for you. So if you go to the custom and you can say short date, long date, whatever way you want. Okay. You can also choose what format your date you want to have it here. But right now, I am saying that let us say that I have 100 pounds. Okay. And this is a currency. So I can click on this icon here and say that this is English UK pounds. Okay. I have 100 pounds. What is the equivalent dollar for this 100 pounds? For that, I need a conversion. So what I'm going to do is quickly go to a website like xc.com and look at what is the conversion ratio as is between USD and GBP. And if you look at it, it is 0.62236. So I'm going to put that number here, 0.62236. Now, to get the USD equivalent of 100 pounds on today's date, which is 15th of Jan, what is the value? And the formula is basically equal to, which is the formula, 100 pounds, which is B3 star in the brackets, okay, no, star 0.62236. Now, 62.24 US dollars is the converted value for 100 pounds. Does it look correct? Does it look logical? I don't think this is correct. Why? Because a pound is richer than a dollar, and we know that 100 pounds is more than $100. So what does that mean? I did the formula incorrect. Instead of a multiplication, it's got to be a divide. Now I probably have the correct value. So if I have 100 pounds as of today, the equivalent value is $160. So this is one row which is basically having one set of information. So I'm going to give it a little background, and these rows here have a different one. So I'm going to give it a different background. So that way it is easy for me to be able to look into and identify which is my data, which is my column headings and so on. Okay. Now I can copy the same thing and paste it in here. I can copy it in fact into more than one locations and paste it. So if I copy just these cells and I say that, you know what, in a similar format, copy it into these 3 columns, those specific cells. See, I copied 4 rows and 1 column. Same here, 4 rows, 1 column, but I just extended the columns. That way I could copy it into more than one. Now, let us say arbitrarily that we anticipate that there is going to be a reduction every day. So this is 15th Jan. I'm going to say this is 16th Jan, next day, by about let's say 1% in the valuation of the currency. So I am going to say this is going to be 1% lesser than B2. So C2 equals 1% lesser than B2. How do I do that? I can say equals B2 star 1 minus 1% lesser than 1, 0.01. When I say 1 minus 0.01, what do I mean? I am multiplying B2 with what? With 1 minus 0.01, which is 0.99. That 0.99 is 1% lesser than 1, correct? So that means that if I multiply B2 with 0.99, if I multiply it with 1, it will be the same. If I multiply anything greater than 1, it is increased. If I multiply anything lesser than 1, it is decreasing. So 0.99 is decreasing it by 1%. Now I say this. Now what has happened? This is automatically calculated based on what is today. If I take the same formula and select all the cells here and now I do a paste, it has basically copied the same row. If you look at it, it is B2, now it is C2, C3, sorry, C2, E2, F2, G2 and so on. But it does not change the row number. Why? Because when I pasted, I did it on a different column. This copy paste is a very, very critical portion of how you work with Excel. All right. Please remember that. A copy paste is a very, very critical portion of how you work with an Excel. Period. Because a lot of things is not about how much of data you have. How much of data you have in a very organized and organized fashion. Okay. So right now, what you see here is I have this going up for each day. Hey, but 15 Jan, 16 Jan, 15 again. I have to calculate this, right? How about this? If I have a formula for increasing my date also by 1 day each time, this equals the old date or B1 plus 1. Why does it? If I add 1 to a number, I can understand it will increment that number by 1. If I add a number to a date, how can it increase it? Because dates are actually number counted from a specific date in the history. So this date that you see has a number to it, okay? Some XY number. And that number is what you're increasing. And since the format of recognition is date, it will convert that number back into a date to show you. So for example, if I click on this cell and I say that this is a number, a comma style number, you will see a number being displayed here. And this number would be probably 1 less than that number. So when I do a plus 1, it is adding this number by 1, but it is displaying it not as a number but as a date. Okay, so that is the logic about this. So the same way I can copy and paste on the dates. So what did I do? I said that if I have, so let me do one more, then I have the entire week with me. Okay, if I have the values, okay, if I have the value for today's date, okay, the conversion ratio for today, I will be able to calculate the conversion ratio for everything else, and that is based on the formulas that we use. Okay, so look at the ease of this. So if I have, let's say I work in a travel company or anything with to do with the currency exchange and so on, and I want to quickly be able to refer and say that, you know what, today you're paying 100 GBP, you're going to get 160. But if you wait for a week and at the rate at which things are going, it looks like you might get 170. So do you want to wait or do you want to do it now? At the same time, I can say and change this formula and say that it is actually going up and paste this out here this way. Then I have a new formula. You know what? I'm sorry. It is not going up. It is going down by 1% each day. So you are going to lose about $9 with it. How will I know the difference? I can say that the difference between days. I remember very distinctly that this is not something I did in that session that I said didn't get captured and recorded. Let me quickly check that at least this is, hopefully this is working fine. Okay. Difference between this. What do I mean? I want to know how much am I losing between 16th Jan and 15th Jan for 100 pounds. What do I mean? This equals this minus this 159. So I have basically subtracted two cell values. Now if I copy this and I paste it across all, I will see the difference as is happening. 1.51 is what? Double click on it. You will see it is G4 minus H4. Okay, that is the value. So you can, oops, is this correct? This is interesting. See, now is the time I should introduce you to something very important. Okay, great. So let me show you this now. I want difference between days. That is fine. Okay, this is good. Copied, pasted. Difference between days, difference from now. Do you see what I'm saying? Now I'm saying that this is fair enough. Difference between each day is what I'm showing, and typically it is around the same number. I want to know the difference between today to a date in future. So what does that mean? This equals, again, B4 minus C4, right? That is the calculation. If I copy and paste it here, what will come? I have gone up one column, column from C to D. So this will become C4 minus D4, right? Is this correct? But I should still be pointing to B4. I want this formula not to be C4, B4. So the column should be fixed. I always want it to be B4. I don't want the column to change when I do a copy paste. And to do that, what you do is you put a dollar sign in front of the column in your formula. What that does is it basically tells that the column is now frozen. If you do a copy paste from there to the next, okay, see what will happen. Do you see this? The B remain the same, the D is changing. Now let me experiment for one more. So if I paste it here, if I paste B4 minus C4 into this column here, what should happen? This should become probably D minus E. But what will really happen? The B4 will remain to be the same and E4 is changing. Same way again, same way again, same way again. Do you see this now? Now I have data in front of me in a fashion that it is so easy for me to refer and be able to say that, you know what, this is what it is. I have a better control about guiding someone to what I want them to know. Listen, $100 not a big amount, but how about if I'm doing $10,000? Okay, now what happened? Why does it show hash instead of the number itself? Because the column size is a little too big, a little too small to hold a big number. Or if I'm not really interested in working with decimals, at least for specific numbers, then I can reduce it. But a lot of decimals being used here, right? So we'll not change the decimals. What I can do is two things. Either select all the columns and increase the size of these columns so that the numbers can be easily mentioned, and freeze the panes here. So that way, even if I scroll to the right, I can still see the values. Or since it's a zoomed version, right now we're seeing this. Or what I can do is I can just reduce the font sizes for these specific cells and say these are not every number is critical for me to be looking at in a big fashion. Okay, so specific numbers, work with them and change the way they look. Okay, I don't need to look at every number at a very large size, but I need to look at currency 2 and these numbers in a big manner. Okay, let's say these are my most important numbers. So what I'll do is for these numbers, I'll put it to 10 and I'll make them bold. I will also give the background for this in a different color that is easy for me to recognize. Why am I doing all this? Why am I not teaching you the basic theoretical concepts of what is what? Because what happened? Why did this come up? Okay, let me close this. It is important for you to know what to do when, how to make neat, proper, good Excel sheets as part of your software career overall, be it in testing, development, BA, anything. Documentation is a critical aspect and hence you need to provide good information. Now, you've learned how to create formulas and be able to use copy paste to be able to take the same formula into something else. Okay, so this is very important. Remember this dollar sign. Now we will play a lot more with dollar sign as we go along, but let me look at what other topics I wanted to see. Okay, now sharing data between multiple Excel sheets, fair enough. Now I have the currency calculation table here, correct? I could say that, you know what, I am going to create a new sheet, rename this and say legend currency. Why am I saying legend currency? And this, let me rename it to more something apt and say this is table currency. I know I've deviated from the guess concept to this new exercise, but it'll give you a flavor of different things. Okay, very important. It's an amazing tool. I really want everyone to learn this tool. So please try and repeat the sessions as many times as you want so that you get a good grasp of what we're trying to do here. I want my data to be organized in a very, very neat manner. Okay, so what I will do is I will say that, you know what, this ratio here, I will not put it here because I want to put a different thing here and say currency 1, oops, F2, currency 1. F2, you know, right? Shortcut for editing. Very important for you to know the shortcuts, please. Okay. For example, I'm not sure if I covered this in an earlier session, but doesn't hurt to repeat. So, for example, I have so many dates, right? Data. Now, let's say I use my mouse, my keyboard arrows to go up and down, and I want to click on any specific cell and edit this ajay@chicago.com. And let's say that he's changed his email or something. Either I move my mouse all the way out there, but since I already have the cell highlighted, I do a simple F2 on my keyboard. What that does is it makes it into an edit mode, and I should be able to quickly write what I want and be able to change it. Now it's recognized that as an email. I don't want to put a link here right now. It doesn't matter, but just thought I should let you know. Okay, legend currency, table currency. Okay, this is good. Now the reason I said is it was easy for me to copy it. So currency 1, currency 2, and conversion, today's rate. So I am going to put GBP USD, and what's today's rate? I'm going to copy this, Control C, copy paste is a very, very important portion of what you do in an Excel or in a Word. Documentation is all about mastering the art of doing the same thing in a very smart manner. Okay, so you need to know and equip yourself with these tools, and most of this will come with expertise, but here is a good quick start for you. Okay, so today's rate I put here. Hey, why did I get the red background here? I don't want a red background here. I want just the value for now. So copy it, right? I did a right click instead of Control C. It doesn't matter. You can still do a Control C. But instead of doing a Control V here, which will copy it, you right click and now you choose your paste options. Do you want the paste, the regular Control V, or just the value, or the formula, or transpose and so on? I will do just the value. Oops, what happened? So this was what it was, right? So if I do a Control C, now right click and do just a value. In fact, when you keep going on each of them, it will show you what it's going to do. I just want the value. I'll take it and put it here. Okay. So what did I do? GBP USD is today's rate is this. Now what I'm going to do is very interesting and very, very important for you to know. I don't have to store data in the same Excel sheet each time. Okay, I can have one Excel sheet E1, I can have other Excel sheet E2 to store different sets of data for me. But still I can have a way where the data from one Excel is being shared across different Excels and in a many-to-many relationship. How? When I say this, I want this data to be present out here. So if I say currency 1 GBP, this is equal to, and I put something here, it will get that, right? But if I say this is equal to, okay, let's say that I have here test 1 and I say test 2 here. Okay, if I say this is equal to this cell, what will it do? It will take whatever is there in that cell and put it there, correct? And the same here. Now, if I do a Control C, Control V, what will happen? I have moved down one row. So from C8, it should get the value from C9. Where is C9? C is here, 9 is here. So this is the one. So if I do a Control C and I do a Control V, it will get that value, right? So similarly, if I do equal to, and I click on it, I come here, right? Or I click on it, I come here. If I go to a different sheet, do you see the formula is now changing to something different? It says equal to single quotes legend underscore legend hyphen currency end of single quotes and an exclamation mark. And I say select this. What will happen now? It will take the value that I put here and take that value and get it out here to this sheet. That way you can get a value from one sheet to the other. So this is what equal to, click on the other sheet now and select that currency and say enter. And I have GBP here and USD here. I can also do the same for this one. Hey, you know what? It will automatically get it, right? So Control C, Control V. Currency 1. Is this correct? So what it did, it went up 1. But is this what we want? No. So do not play with it. So do a Control Z. Conversion I'll do. I want a smaller column here. Better for us, right? Now, how about this? Same thing. Copy and get it here. Why? So tomorrow, if I want, I could take the ones which I don't need under, like GBP to, let's say, yen, or let's say GBP to INR, or let's say INR to USD. And these values, I'll put it here. But whatever values I want to show, I will say use this. Okay. So I will say that all the cells are black in this legend. Legend is what? Basically a reference point for anyone. Okay. Everything is black. Only the ones which is in white, please refer to that. That is the data that will get copied onto the table currency. So if I go here and I say, for example, the INR to USD conversion, let's say is 55. Okay. INR to USD is 55. Okay. Let's copy this and now I will put that value here. So this, I don't want this format. So paste special. This will automatically get referred here. Do you see this? So 10,000 INR, this currency is not correct. So you might want to change the format of this, not to display any currencies. Okay. Just to show it as a number with decimals. Okay. INR 10,000 is equal to 181 USD. And everything else is calculated. Oh, you actually trying to calculate between USD and INR. I'm sorry, I thought between USD and GBP. Now let me change my formula quickly. One change and this is what is reflecting for you. So look at the power of what you can do with Excel and just imagine what you could do. Now, for example, if I go back to the guess, I can play around a lot with it. So come back in the next session. We will do a lot more. We will go more advanced in what we do. So what I wanted to cover in this session was also about working with multiple Excel sheets and sharing the data between multiple Excel sheets. So from one Excel sheet in the same workbook, you can share the data into another Excel sheet. Okay. So we will come back and learn a few more advanced concepts like graphing, pivot tables, some more advanced filtering, and so on. Okay. In the next few sessions. Thank you so much and bye for now. Take care, everyone.